So now we're using the foam cutter, a homemade foam cutter my husband has made here, to cut out the foam and put lines in it. So last night we worked on some of the floors and used a cutter to like kind of make some cracks, and then we used a rock to make some texture, and now we're trying to make some walls. But all of the lines that are in there, it's just much easier to do using the foam cutter because they're straighter, and you can always make them a little bit crooked or a little wider, you know, with tools as you go, but it's just easier up front to do it this way. So that's what we're doing. So this is what we're looking at and we're trying to create now. We have a couple of the 3x3s and 6x6s foam tiles. We've cut them with using the wire cutter and putting the lines in them using the wire cutter, and now we're just using a ballpoint pen to make the lines a little darker so they stand out. Then we make sure we have those lines on the sides as well. You always want to do to the side what you do to the top in case it's exposed in any way, so it looks very consistent. Then we're going to take off the sides on the top just a little bit. We still want those sides to even up because we want those magnets to be able to really connect well. But if you put a little bit off the sides on the top like this, then when those two pieces come together magnetically, you'll have a space in between them that's more defined. And so you'll see each of the squares a little bit easier. So as you see, like here's an example of these two pieces, and if we put them together, you can see how there's a little bit of a space there in between. So, you know, each of the 1-inch squares are very easy to tell what they are. The next thing we're gonna do is create some texture. RP Archive said that tinfoil is a good way to go, but we decided to try some different things. Because this rock has more indentations, and so it looks a little bit more realistic than the tinfoil did when we tried it. And notice we're doing it on the sides as well. So now we're using the hot glue gun to make holes. We have spots, so we can use the jig to make exact holes, but sometimes we just make them a little bit deeper and open them up a little bit, and the hot glue gun really helps with that. So we're using the hot glue gun to make some holes where the jig's marked it. And now we're doing the magnet part. We use this to keep the polarities of the magnets straight because they have to be the same on every single one, the north on one side, the south on one side of the magnet. And in the hole we put a little bit of glue. And we use that to put the magnet in there. Push it down just a little bit. You want it to be able to be sticking out a tiny bit so it can connect. And then we put a little bit of hot glue on the top to kind of cement it in there. And we're gonna be doing that for all the walls and the floors. So the next step is to paint them all black. Now when you're painting them with this first layer, you really need to make sure you get into those cracks because they're gonna really shine through later on when you do the dry brushing. So you just gotta make sure that you cover everything completely. And you don't necessarily have to do the back, but I actually do paint the back as well. And I make sure I get the sides too. And this is kind of what they look like as they're starting to dry. And it's just kind of the first layer. I'll go back and do a little bit of touching up before I move on to my next color. Just got done with all the black painting of the dungeon tiles, and now I am doing some dry brushing. I use a green and I just go back and forth so it just gets the top, and then the crevices have the black inside. It's there's a lot of different videos on YouTube about dry brushing, just a particular painting technique, and you can see how the black and the ones that are finished here look different from ones that just have the black on it. I will be doing another layer, which I'll show you in a bit, that will be of probably just a white or really light gray. And you can use like a darker gray for your dry brushing too. It depends on what kind of stone look you're going for, even maybe a little bit of a brown. I like green because I like the idea of a wet dungeon with some moss growing in it. So I kind of like that look. If you can see, that's what it looks like when it dries. And it really just picks up those extra highlights, which I really like. All right, so now I'm just doing some dry brushing on my dungeon tiles here to pick up the little craters and the cracks that you can see on the top. Just adds a little bit more depth. And that's what they're gonna look like afterward. This is what they look like with just the green. But once you add the white, it really brings out some more of those features of that dungeon tile. So dry brushing with white, a little bit of gray. So as you can see, I've got my monsters sitting in there, right? My dungeon starting to come together with my walls and my little monsters. You get brownie points if you know what game those monsters come from. There you go. And then my son added some of his own little characters in there, which I thought was kind of fun. I think I'm gonna make some water tiles for here, maybe some lava. We need some more walls, some doors, I think, and some other things that are yet to come. Stay tuned.